All right, so this is the review for the next test. So let's take a look at number one. It says to solve algebraically. So we have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 25. That's the equation for a circle. And we have 2x plus y equals 15. That's your linear. So I'm going to start off by putting my linear in y equals form. All right, so let me just rewrite the circle here. So the circle is x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 25. That's your circle. How do we know it's a circle? Because we have x and y squared. And here's your linear, 2x plus y equals 15. So I have to take the linear and put it in y equals form. So I'm going to minus 2x, and I get y equals negative 2x plus 15. So since I have my y equals here, I'm going to take this and substitute it in for the y value there. So now I have x minus 2 squared, because I didn't do anything to this yet, plus negative 2x plus 15, because that's my y. I'm changing this to what y is equal to here. And then I still have the minus 1. Square it equals 25. So I'm going to clean up the parentheses. X minus 2 squared plus negative 2 plus 14, negative 2x, sorry, plus 14 squared equals 25. All right, so remember, the square means that you have to multiply it by itself. So we have x minus 2 times x minus 2 plus negative 2x plus 14 times negative 2x plus 14, and that equals 25. All right, so now I'm going to double distribute. So we have x times x is x squared, x times negative 2x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Distribute the next set of parentheses. Negative 2x times negative 2x is 4x squared. Negative 2x times 14 is negative 28x. And 14 times negative 2x is negative 28x. And 14 times 14 is 196. And that equals 25. So now I'm just going to clean up the like terms here. So we have x squared and 4x squared is 5x squared. Negative 2x and negative 2x, negative 28x, negative 28x is negative 60x. And 4 plus 196 is 200 equals 25. So now I want to solve this. So I'm going to minus the 25 over. So I get 5x squared minus 60x plus 175 equals 0. All right, so now I want to solve this. So I noticed there's a GCF, so I'm going to factor out the GCF because I think that it might be factorable. So I GCF the 5 out, and I get x squared plus 12x minus 12x because of that minus 60 plus 35 equals 0. And now I'm going to factor the trinomial. So you could do master product, and we get x minus 7 and x minus 5 equals 0. Now remember, we're solving, so I need my t-chart. We get x equals 7 and x equals 5. Now, since I'm solving the system of equations, I do have to find the y value. So I'm going to take my x's and plug it into y equals negative 2x plus 15 to find my y values. All right, so I'm going to start by plugging in x is equal to 7. So I have y equals negative 2 times 7 plus 15. So that's negative 14 plus 15 is 1. So there's one solution, 7, 1. And now we're going to plug in 5 for x. Y equals negative 2 times 5 plus 15. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, plus 15 is 5. So there's the other solution, 5, comma 5. Now it does say on your paper to justify the solution. Remember, that means to show your checks. So I'm not going to do that because everybody at this point should know how to do a check. But remember, what that means is to show checks. So there are, and I expect to see this. If you didn't check, I do expect to see this in the correction box if you didn't do this, because I will be looking for this. Okay, if you have 2 solutions and 2 equations you have to check, you should have 4 checks when you're done. Okay, so let's take a look at letter B, 1B. All right, so 1B, we have a rational equation. We have 2 over x plus 3 over 5x equals 1. All right, so I want to get all the denominators to be a 1. So if you want to put the 1 over 1, you can, just if that'll help you. All right, so I say to myself, all right, I have an x down here. To make that a 1, I need an x up top. So that means I got to multiply all the numerators by x. And that'll help with this x here. But now I have to make the 5 a 1. So that means I have to multiply the top also now by 5. So I multiply all of them by 5. Now I reduce. So x and x reduce. So I'm left with 5 times 2. 5 and 5 reduce. X and x reduce. So I'm left with plus 3 equals. Nothing reduces at the end. So I have 5 times 1 at the end. So we have 10 plus 3 equals 5x. 13 equals 5x. Divide by 5. X is equal to 13 over 5. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 says to find the zeros. Remember, the zeros are where it crosses the x-axis. It's your solutions. It's the roots. So what are the different ways we could do this? Factor we can. Possibly. Not everything's factorable, but possibly factor. We can complete square. In order to complete the square, you would have to divide everything by 2 because you have to have a leading coefficient of a 1. Or quadratic formula. Now, I notice that everything there is divisible by 2. I'm looking for the zeros. That means I have to make f of x equal to 0. And I'm going to factor out the 2. Now, this is not a good problem to complete the square because after you get rid of the 2, or even if you divide by 2, you have a 1 as that b value. And that would not be a good problem to complete the square. But this is factorable. So, or you can use the quadratic formula. So you could do master product. And we get x plus 3, x minus 2. T-chart, because we're looking for the zeros. X equals negative 3. And x is equal to positive 2. All right, let's look at the next one, 3. Where it says to find inverse. Remember, inverse means to switch x and y. All right, so A is f of x equals 1 over 5x plus 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite it as y equals 1/5 x plus 10. All right, so now switch x and y. X equals 1/5 y plus 10 minus the 10 over, because I'm solving for y, I want to put in y equals form. To get rid of the 5 in the denominator or the fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal, 5 over 1. Just make sure when you multiply by 5 over 1 here, on the left side, you do distribute. So I get 5x minus 50 equals, and then this just becomes a 1 on the right side. So that's your inverse. All right, so now let's do the second one. Oh, and since this is an inverse function, we should write it like this. 5x minus 50. All right, g of x is equal to 3x minus 8. Change to y equals. Inverse, switch x and y. Now solve for y. So add 8. And now divide by 3. So this could be written like this. That's one way to write it. You can separate it. Put the 3 underneath both. X over 3 plus 8/3. Right, remember, x over 3 is really 1/3. X plus 8/3. And that would be the inverse of g of x. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. Okay, number 4. We want to find the average rate of change. Remember, that's slope. So that's y minus y over x minus x. And we're using the interval of -1 to 2. Remember, those are your x values. All right, so take a look at f of x. We have 2x squared plus 8x plus 12. So just plug it into your calculator and get the table of values. So when x is -1, your y is 6. And when x is 2, your y is 36. Now we're going to find the average rate of change. So it's going to be 36 minus 6 over 2 minus -1. So that's 30 over 3. So your average rate of change is 10. All right, so now g of x is your graph. This is g of x. So you got to look at your graph. So look at the graph. When x is -1, follow the graph. When x is -1, I have y is -2. When x is 2, I got the y value is 10. All right, so we have the average rate of change is 10 minus -2 over 2 minus -1. So my average rate of change is equal to 12 over 3, which is equal to 4. And then it does say to compare. So I'll do it from least to greatest. So it's g of x is less than f of x. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. So number 5 says f of x equals 8 minus x. And g of x equals x to the third plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 2. So A says determine if f is a factor of g. All right, so I'm going to use long division to do that. All right, so x times what is x to the third? That's x squared. Multiply down. So we have x to the third minus 8x squared. Minus, do same change, so this will become a plus, minus, plus. Add down, we get 11x squared, and bring down the next number. Minus 2x, and repeat the process. X times what is 11x squared? That would be plus 11x. Multiply down, we get 11x squared minus 88x. Parentheses minus, same change. So this becomes a plus, minus, oh sorry, let me use a different color. Plus, minus, plus here. So negative 2x plus 88x is 86x. Bring down the next number. And x times what is 86x? That's 86. Multiply down, we get 86x. And then 86 times negative 8 is negative 688. Same change, so that becomes plus, minus, plus. 86x minus 86x is 0, and negative 2 plus 688 is 686. So what I'm looking for, if it's a factor, is if the remainder is 0. So is it a factor? No, it's not a factor. Or I should really write it like this. F of x is not a factor, and why? Because the remainder is not 0. What else could we have done for this? Well, remember I talked about the remainder theorem in class. You could have taken this guy and done x equals 8, plug it in, right? And do 8 to the third plus 3 times 8 squared minus 2 times 8 minus 2. Plug this all in your calculator and you get 686. That's your remainder. So if the remainder is not 0, then it's not a factor. Remember, that's the remainder theorem. And if you had to explain, you would say it's not a factor. F of x is not a factor because because using the remainder theorem, my remainder is not equal to 0. Okay, let's look at the next one. B. So I need f of x. So it's f of x times g of x. So it's x to the third plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 2. And I'm multiplying it by f of x. All right, so negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16. Negative 8 times negative 2x is positive 16x. Negative 8 times 3x squared is negative 24x squared. And then we have negative 8 times x to the third is negative 8x to the third. Just going to move that over a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to multiply x times negative 2 is negative 2x. And then we're going to multiply x times negative 2x is negative 2x squared. And then we have x times 3x squared is positive 3x to the third. And lastly is x times x to the third is x to the fourth. Now just add them straight down. So we have x to the fourth minus 5x to the third minus 26x squared plus 14x plus 16. All right, and the last one is subtraction. We're doing f of x, and f of x is x minus 8. And we're subtracting g of x, which is x to the third, plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 2. Notice I put them in parentheses because we're minusing. And we have to make sure that we do distribute the negative. So I have x minus 8 minus x to the third minus 3x squared plus 2x plus 2. So I have negative x to the third minus 3x squared. 2x plus x is 3x. And then I have positive 2 minus 8 is negative 6. So it's x to the third minus 3x squared plus 3x minus 6. Okay, let's look at the system, the 3 by 3 system here. All right, so number 1, the first equation is negative x minus 5y plus 6z equals negative 24. Equation 2 is 5x minus 4y plus 2z equals 21. And equation 3 is negative x minus 4y plus 5z equals negative 21. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to plug it in a calculator, right, and get the answer, right? Get your matrix. So I have 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And then I got, for my answer, was 5, negative 1, negative 4, which means x is 5, y is negative 1, and z is negative 4. All right, so now I'm ready to start working on this. All right, so I'm going to take 1 and 2. Sorry, this thing's giving me an issue. 2. 5x minus 4y. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the x's here. So I'm going to multiply this top one by 5 because then that'll give me negative 5x, and I'm going to keep the bottom one the same. So it's negative 5x minus 25y plus 30z equals negative 120. And I'm going to keep the bottom one the same. Okay, add them together. The x's cancel. I get negative 29y plus 32z. And negative 120 plus 21 is negative 99. And I'm going to call this equation A. Now I'm going to take equations 1 and 3. So remember, if I got rid of x for equation A, to get equation B, I have to get rid of x. It has to be the same letter. All right, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by negative 1 to make that a positive x. So positive x plus 5y minus 6z equals positive 24. And negative x minus 4y plus 5z equals negative 21. Add them together. The x's cancel. 5y minus 4y is y. Negative 6z plus 5z is negative z. And 24 minus 3 is 21, is 3, and this is equation B. Okay, so now I'm going to take equation A, which is negative 29y plus 32z equals negative 99. And I'm going to put it with b. Y minus z equals 3. All right, so I am going to get rid of the y's. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by 29. So I'm going to keep the top equation the same, negative 29y plus 32z equals negative 99. Multiplying the bottom one by 29, I get 29y minus 29z. 29 times 3 is 87. Add them together, the y's cancel. 32z minus 29z is 3z. And negative 99 plus 87 is negative 12. Divide both sides by 3, we get z is negative 4, and I do believe that was the answer that I had up top when I plugged it in the calculator. All right, so now I'm going to find y when z equals negative 4. So I'm going to plug it into this here. So y minus z equals 3. Plug in negative 4. Y minus, watch the signs, because you're minusing a negative, equals 3. So y plus 4 equals 3. Subtract 4 from both sides, we get y is negative 1. And yes, that is what I got from the calculator. And now we have to find x. We have y is negative 1 and z is negative 4. I'm going to plug it into equation B. 5x minus 4y plus 2z equals 21. All right, so we have 5x minus 4 times negative 1 plus 2 times negative 4 equals 21. So we have 5x plus 4 minus 8 equals 21. So we have 5x minus 4 equals 21. Add the 4 to both sides. 5x equals 25. Divide by 5, x is equal to 5. All right, now it does say to justify your solution. So I'll go over this justify. Remember, justify your solution means to check your answer. All right, so let me write down what my solution is. Right, so x is negative 5, y is negative 1, and z is negative 4. All right, let me move everything up here. All right, so now I'm going to justify the solution. So I do expect to see this in your corrections. So this is equation 1, negative x minus 5y plus 6z equals negative 24. Okay, I'm plugging in. So it's negative 5 minus 5 times negative 1 plus 6 times negative 4 equals negative 24. You could just plug this into the calculator all at one time. Yeah, negative 24 equals negative 24. One check is done. I have 2 more to do. Next one, 5x minus 4y plus 2z equals 21. I'm plugging in. X is 5. Y is negative 1. And z is negative 4. Just plug it all in the calculator at one time. Yes, 21 equals 21. Check. And then we have one more equation to check. I have to check the last equation. Negative x minus 4y plus 5z equals negative 21. All right, let's plug in. X is 5 minus 4 times negative 1. Just watch the signs with this one because of those negative x's. plus 5 times negative 4 equals negative 21. Plug in your calculator, negative 21 equals negative 21. Check. Okay, so that's it, and happy studying, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.